Salutations, I'll call this meeting to order. The quorum is here. Phil, Kay, Donna, myself are here. Mr. Riley is in transit, or he's in transit. And Mr. Stenenbaum is not going to be here today. He has a special situation that he asked me not to be at this meeting. We had the meetings that were approved. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, move along. Okay, handouts. You got our handouts here. We all had great things that we all had accomplished there. And I'm going to go right down to the reports of the committees. The committee reports is, first, I'll let, you mind if Kay goes first? Okay, Kay can go first. Thank you, Kay.
Thanks, George. Yes, I was assigned Kuntz, and prior to our starting this, the Space Solutions Committee had decided that we were just going to focus on Kuntz and Beardsley Rec Center's use of space by clubs rooms, and that we were not going to get into those with dedicated spaces, such as at Kuntz, for example, the Palo Verde Patchers, the Weavers, Leather Crafters, the Stardust Theater, Wood Shop. So we're mainly focusing on classrooms 3 to 5. I did have a special meeting I walked through with Frank and did a worksheet for each of the facilities detailing all kinds of information that I felt we needed as a committee to know about. Those worksheets are available for any of the committee to review upon request. Craft rooms 3, 4, and 5 now have a maximum capacity of 60 to give adequate space so clubs can do their crafts. Originally it was 90, but it was felt that was just too tight a quarters to do their crafts. The average use of those rooms right now is about a maximum of 45 at a time. All 3 rooms have ample cabinet storage for club materials, supplies, equipment to secure their materials and share the room with other clubs. They also have display windows to showcase their projects, which is important to the clubs. Room 3 is Monday from noon to 4 and 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. weekly. Tuesday, that room is used just 6 to 8:30 p.m. once a month. On Wednesdays, noon to 4 and 6 to 9 weekly. Thursday, 8 to 4 weekly. Fridays, 9 to 4 weekly. That represents a total of 116 and a half hours a month that room is used. So that's a lot of time, a lot of space that could be used for other things. Room 4 is our most used room. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, the same club has it 8:30 to 4. Fridays from 7:30 to 3, once a week, one club has it. And that represents a total of 120 hours a month. Room 5 is the least used room. It's only used Mondays from 8 to 4, Wednesdays from 8 to noon, and that represents a total of only 48 hours a month that room is used. Now, I understand that room has been offered to boomers Tuesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., but to date, it has never been used during that time. Craft Room 5 could certainly be used as a meeting room, since they cleaned that out and we lost conference rooms at Beardsley, Palm Ridge, and RHJ. When we need a meeting room for club board meetings, et cetera, or even small general meetings, that room could easily be booked for that. It could also be used for some of the clubs that are now maybe meeting other than at Kuntz. So you take maybe the folks from Beardsley could come over to use some of those reading rooms as well. The courtyard, as we know it, the old original courtyard is being used greatly right now for picnics, general meetings, and luncheons. The new courtyard, outside of the Women's Club over towards Stardust Theater, is currently not being used much at all at this time yet because of the other closures.
Okay, just give me 2 seconds. I want to ask you one question for clarity on this one. You put in here that Craft Room 5 is the least used. Is that room not only available for meetings, but would it accommodate, let's just say, 20 poker players and a table there? Would there be room for them in there?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the maximum capacity of that room, George, like the others, was originally 90 people. So there's plenty of room for 20 card players. So those are my comments on Kuntz. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I also have comments on my personal views on the other 3 centers, but I'll save those for later if you prefer.
I would love that for later. I'm going to let Donna do her extravaganza about her Beardsley walk through.
Thank you. Upon review and discussion of club space and membership participation factual data at Beardsley Rec Center with Tim Peterson, who is the lead over there, Phil Daughtry, Charter Club specialist, I think, and myself, the following we would like to suggest. The first room that we looked at was glass art. Is growing, but copper enameling, it looks like, is declining. No changes were suggested at this time. Photography has a lot of unused space with very little membership participation. Suggestion is photography be moved into the computer club space at Palm Ridge. The photography space could be turned into 2 rooms. The photography main studio space with a display window could accommodate the Railroad Club at R.H. Johnson using the portrait studio for their workroom and maintenance. Also, the photography classroom space with a display window could accommodate another club or potential expansion for the future of the Clay Club from the Dickley studio. Railroad Club space at R.H. Johnson could be used for meetings. Next, scrapbooking has a lot of unused space for the amount of club membership participation. Photography classroom space could be used for scrapbooking as well. Another possible location for scrapbooking club would be room 3 at Kuntz, or Beaters could be over at room 3 at Kuntz. Current scrapbooking room could be used also in fulfilling the loss of the Acacia Room at Palm Ridge. Porcelain painters, it is suggested their membership and participation is very low and maybe could be eliminated. Their current space would make more sense for facility staff offices as it allows direct access to facility storage and supplies. Current staff offices would be an available 500 square foot room for other venues. Clay Club is greatly in need of reorganization. Outside area seems to have a lot of items needing a dumpster. Outside area offers great space, availability, suggestion of racks to be on rollers, and the floor to be replaced with epoxy, allowing all flooring the same and best for maintenance. Outside courtyard area is desirable and being used. Suggestion of new and improved seating and possible addition of a metal sculpture is recommended. I'd like to just end with all of these suggestions stating that I thought it was a great idea to take the facility lead who is actually there seeing what the participation activity of all of these rooms is, and Phil, who actually has all the actual numbers for participation, and presenting these suggestions based on that factual data is significant. Thank you.
Donna, when you were touring, did you see any of these clubs participating when you were there?
Yes, there were some clubs that were in there working, specifically Clay Club.
How were you received?
Oh, everybody was very happy to see us, very welcoming. I mean, they were like, hi, what are you doing?
What are you doing here? That's why I didn't go, because they're usually not happy to see me come in. But that's another issue. But no, I really want to thank you guys both for taking the time to not only work and walk around to the different venues, but also reach into the people, the leads of the facilities. We know we have senior supervisors, but the leads in the facilities are the ones who have their hands on every day of what goes on there. And I think it was a great idea by you guys to go in there and put that together. Once again, I'm just going to say, so for all those who are listening, remember, these are just suggestions. We're not saying this is an implementation. Our observations and things like that are going to be put together. They're going to be handed over to the recreation manager, and when the new governing board convenes, they will either assign a special committee to this to take it to step 2 of what needs to be moved around. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. Kay, I'm going to jump back to you. You have other personal.
Yes, I do, but I want to add something. When I went over to Kuntz, I, first of all, was there 3 different times. Did a photo walkthrough with Frank, as I mentioned, but I also made it a point to speak with club presidents that use those rooms. I went in and visited on days when I knew they were there. For example, the Decorative Stitchers, when I went there, for example, they had a nice sign-in sheet. I could see that they had had 30 ladies sign in that day. They were all very friendly. The same was true with Palo Verde Patchers. I was there twice. I was over with Weavers twice. And so I talked not just to the presidents, but the actual people that are enjoying their craft to see, you know, how often do you come? Does this meet your needs and so on? So I felt that, you know, we really needed that input from the users more than just looking at numbers on a paper as well to see what was happening there. So
I have to concur. I think it was another one of the bridges that we build not only with our clubs, but with our facilities, with our governing board, with the people who serve on committees. These are things that makes us the recreation centers the number 2 in the nation, number 1 with all of our amenities, because we listen to what the needs are. But the real question is, how many of those clubs did you join, Kay?
how many clubs did I join?
Yeah.
None. I belonged to the clubs I belonged to for years, but I had no new ones.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
Okay. A couple of observations on R.H. Johnson. And of course, having worked on the 2018 Space Solutions Committee and space allocation and looking at that, a problem I think we need to address sooner rather than later is what is the best use of the men's club. This is an underutilized standalone building. It has a large kitchen, many tables and chairs, has its monitor area. It is a total of 4,987.6 square feet of space. As you know, the Radio Broadcast Club has a small portion of the building. The men's club has use of that building Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 4:45. The other time that is currently used, Friday afternoons at 1:15 for Sheepshead, Pan Friday evening from 5:30 to 9, Club 52 2 nights a week from 5:30 to 9, and LGBTQ uses it about twice a month. Of course, current activities that they've been outside, but this is a larger room that could easily be divided in half to allow other groups to use it, or the men's club could be moved to another campus and the existing room could be converted to a multi-purpose room or dedicated space, perhaps even for boomers. It has a kitchen, it has a lot of the things they've been wanting. The structure of that room has flexibility enough that you could certainly set up for about any kind of activity I can imagine that they would want planned for that space. So that's something to keep in mind. When we did the study in 2018, another area here at R.H. Johnson that we looked at for more space, both Lapidary and Silvercraft could use a smaller space than what they have if they consolidated some equipment. That could accommodate a third room, new room, to either maybe be used for a governing board conference room because the one they have is certainly inadequate, and that whole issue has been kicked can down the road for several years and still is a problem. So that might be a possibility for that use. If there is only one thing I could identify that RHJ really needs is that conference space for a governing board. Even before COVID, the current room was inadequate, and now certainly it's proved to us it has been. As far as Palm Ridge is concerned, the 2018 study based fixing problems there that we did fix, and I just want to remind the community what we did. And the stained glass expansion was completed, and that required relocating the computer club, and they lost about a third of the space they had previously had. So therefore, I would have a real problem with us thinking about moving them again when we just spent a lot of money to move and relocate them. The dance studio is sometimes looked at as a room that has a lot of space and maybe isn't used as often. However, from years with the Properties Committee, and it would not make sense to tear that whole floor out to put another club in, and that would have to be done. As far as Palm Ridge, the aquatics building is, again, kind of a hands-off. It's well-used, the walking track, the fitness center, the indoor and outdoor pools. No suggested changes there.
While you're on Palm Ridge, the dance studio has been moved. A lot of the dances, they do Pilates in there now.
Yes.
They do a lot more in there than just the, when it was originally that the rhythm tappers would
Correct.
lock the door or whatever on there, but they are
Yeah.
using that. I was actually asked to join Pilates, but they said I couldn't fit through the door. But that's another issue.
Moving right along to Beardsley. As a result of the earlier space utilization committees, in the fall of 2015, we made some major changes to Beardsley, and those particularly affected the Clay Club, the Photography Club, China Painters, and Copper Enameling. This was a costly project that has met the needs of those clubs to date. And mentioning the China Painters, they did get moved to a smaller space. At that time, we decided that to let them remain there because there was still usage there. It may have changed now, but that was one reason that they got a smaller space, but we kept them and said, we're not going to kick you to the curb. So the other major change at Beardsley that happened was, of course, the building of the new yoga studio. And that was one of the three big issues that came out of that 2018 study, was finding a place for yoga when all the classes could be in one spot weekly, because they at that time were doing up to almost 60 classes a week, and they needed them in one space with adequate room. So the other issue in the 2018 study that didn't get resolved, as you all know, of course, was boomers. Should they have a separate space? Should they get relocated? Whatever. So that's one of the issues that I wanted to mention out of that whole process, is that before we'd make any major changes at Beardsley, I think we need to take a look at what changes we made, what we spent to do it, and how much good it is getting, and is there really a problem with underusage in some of those places. So I think that needs more study, obviously, but these are all just recommendations and observations at this point. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kay. And to that point, once again, these are recommendations that are going to be passed along to Recreation Manager. When we go down there, scheduling staff needs space. Mr. Riley had that, and because we're not getting into exactly moving people from room to room or whatever, I asked him to skip that thing. Professional survey and development, future needs and wants. Katie has her name in that, but it kind of got filtered down to me. What I did is she gave me, and I passed this out to the committee, 17 different outside groups that wanted to talk about what the needs of people coming into the community, what they want, what they were looking for. And I found it extremely interesting. And so what I did is, after I boiled through each one of these, there were 4 or 5 of those surveys that dealt with 401k, housing financing, and things like that. So I kind of tossed those out because that's not what the focus of this group was. It didn't make sense to say, are we going to be talking about somebody's 401k? What I looked at is what they were looking for amenities and what they are looking for coming in there. And so what I did is I just kind of went through each one, every one of the hot points that each one of these surveys says I put down in just a basic statement. Consumer affairs is the first one I want to touch on, okay? They ranked us number 2 in the nation for 55-plus communities. Very good. Who's number 1? Villages. We all know that. Difficult to compete against 800 million people that live in Florida. But still, we were told we were a 11,000-acre oasis in Arizona. Very good. The other thing that was very impressive to me was we scored a perfect 100 out of 100 for our amenities. So looking at what's going on around us and what people are looking for, scoring today of our amenities of 100% is that and I'd love to make notes of this, is that we were the only 55-plus community in Arizona to score the perfect score. So we can hold our hands and our heads up very high on that one. And what I did then is I went down there and I was looking for similar things. And I'm going to pass this along to Riley and obviously for your comments and all that. But what I was thinking of doing is going through and crossing off the things. You see the thing up on top that says Sun City West, it's blank. Because what my idea was is to say, what do we have? Like when you look at the consumer report ones, health programs, do we have that here? Sure do. You have that all over the place. Specific classes and programs, Yeah, we have that, okay? Is there interest in new technology? We have clubs and things that fulfill that. I'm not going to go up and down the list, but this is what they were looking for. Like what they have here, when I saw under Consumer Affairs, they were looking for a place that's a quick bite, to get a quick bite and a beverage. That's something we don't have here. We don't have that. So maybe that's what we need to give to the recreation manager and general manager to start putting into that master plan, to look at what would be there. And just the highlights, multi-generational living spaces. Wow. How much do we know? As our health has improved and all that, we are living longer, and I can speak personally. I have a mom who I'm there, she's 98, and that's about as multi-generational as you can get around here. But again, a combination of aging parents. What the other thing was that was very interesting is they were not looking for a cookie cutter floor plan. And if you live where I do in the old historic section, they're quite cookie cutter. Every one of the houses are pretty much the same. The Gemini houses and all that have the same floor plan. But if you go over to the expansion area out there, the floor plans are not solid as rock. They're quite fluid, which was very much foresight. They didn't like universal designs of a house or anything. They wanted the freedom to have something in landscaping that'd be theirs or whatever, and that's something we do here. We don't have the patrols like they have over in one of our sister communities. One of the constant things through here was volunteering. It hit in here 5 times. So people are looking when they're coming out here to be active, but not only be active, but to look for a volunteer that goes along with that. So I'm going to pass this along, and I look for comments on it, but this was very eye-opening when I started looking. Again, Boomers Plus, cooking. Do we have places we can get a cooking? They do a cooking group there. Do-it-yourself project. You got wood shop, metal shop. We got every shop that has it. Or exercise, 4 exercise facilities. We have movies. We have movies in the park. We do that. We have music. I have never been in Sun City West when there isn't somebody playing music. It's a beautiful thing. Socializing, here, new tech. Thank you, Katie. You are the purveyor of new tech. I will say that right up front. Do we have sports here? Fabulous softball field, second to none pickleball courts, tennis facilities, platform tennis, swimmers, you name it, we got it. Travel, all you have to do is go over to the office. We got great deals on travel to go on there. Volunteering, we're always for people to look at our clubs. You know, when it came to the Boomers Plus thing, we hit a home run in every one of those things. So I just want to leave this with you, and I'm going to put this together as a package. I'll send it out to all the members of the committee, to the Income and Governing Board for your dissertation to move on to step 2 with this, and of course to the not the general manager, but to the recreation manager for your file on this and that, so you can make whatever input you want on that. That is basically my report on that portion of it. The community interest survey, that's something you may want to do in the future. I'm not sure because it looks like they did all the work already for us. All we have to do is find out what we're missing. We may just be missing a spoke on a wheel, not the whole thing. It's really very good. Comments or questions around? Nope. James?
Thank you for the information, though, that you've provided. I've also went out looking at different questionnaires that have gone out, surveys, and there's just a plethora of surveys that we can reach and take pieces from, if you will, as we look at this master plan.
Absolutely. It's just one of those things. We are, when you look around our community, we have just so many great things going on that we forget about the old saying, not an old saying, a new one that I picked up this week. There are many times we have to look at, are we willing to toss the good or the great out to try to obtain the perfect? Okay? I don't think we'll ever get to the perfect. But being from outside people looking at who we are and what we do, that's a very good rank and a very good place to be. And the challenge that I'll give to you, Mr. Recreation Manager, okay, keep it that way.
Moving forward, certainly. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Committee comments. Donna?
I think that this was great in a beginning point to present to the committee that is looking at developing a master plan, which we really need in Sun City West. So I hope this information is valuable and is used for that master plan.
There you
Thank
go,
you.
thank you. Okay?
It's been an interesting ride, looking at where we were, and I started with this in 2012 to 2020. We've fixed a lot of problems. We've got some we're still trying to fix, and that will probably always be the case. But I really support following through and get her done when it comes to a master plan. We've talked the talk, but we don't walk the walk, and it's time to do it, get it put in place to help management and the future of this community. So that's the end of my soapbox. Thank you.
I concur. Riley, anything? Phil? I have Madam President-elect, all hail. She's not saying anything. Katie, got anything to add? I have a visitor in the audience. Got anything? Yeah, got quiet. With that, this will be our final meeting of this group. We will get, Kay will forward the minutes to us all. We'll put the package together, everything else. We'll send it out there. It is on board docs in pieces, but we'll make sure we have a full copy for everybody and give it to Riley, and it'll be moving forward for the next group to take it to the next step on this, because we wanted to provide a statistical base for you. You got it. Phil's got the numbers. We got the space. Go forward. And without that, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.